What's good, NBA family, and welcome back to another episode. The finals is finally upon us. We got our matchup. We got the number 5th seed Dallas Mavericks representing the West and the number 1 seed Boston Celtics representing the East. So you know what we got to do, man. We got to get into a finals preview video where I will talk about X factors. I'll talk about starting lineups, matchups, advantages and disadvantages. And then at the end, I will give my prediction. So make sure you stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, make sure you smash the subscribe button. Leave a nice comment down below letting me know what your prediction is. And if you're a returner, same thing, man. If you haven't smashed that subscribe button, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Leave a nice comment down below. Let me know who you got winning the finals this year, because that's exactly what I'm going to do in this video. Let's stop wasting time. Let's get straight into it, y'all. I'm not going to lie, y'all. This matchup of the Mavericks versus the Celtics, it's such an intriguing and just a cool storyline. It's, you know, sometimes people could say that NBA script writers are just way too good because the script on this sounds crazy. The storyline on this sounds crazy. We had Kyrie, who he was previously in Boston and stepped on lucky, and all Celtics fans just absolutely despise Kyrie. And then we also have Kristaps Porzingis, who's now on the Celtics, but he was in Dallas, and he said on JJ Redick's podcast that he had a terrible time in Dallas. He was misused, and it just never worked out between him and Luka and when he was in Dallas. So, you know, we got this great storyline of KP being in Dallas in the past and now being in Boston, Kyrie being in Boston in the past, now being in Dallas. Another great storyline is the fact that we have literally the best defensive backcourt in Derek White and Jrue Holiday going up against the best offensive backcourt that we've seen so far this season, and that's Kyrie and Luka. And I mean, Reggie Miller, a lot of people on the broadcast have been saying that Luka and Kyrie might be the greatest offensive backcourt. Now, I think that might be a stretch. We're not going to get into that today, but storyline is still cool, though. We got a very elite offensive backcourt and a very elite defensive backcourt. I'm just intrigued to see what's going to happen, man. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the game plan, some of the lineups, and some of the X factor for the Mavs. So we'll go ahead and start with the Mavs. And I think first, when we talk about this Mavericks team, we have to look at the fact that I think at this point, they're just playing with house money, y'all. They're playing with house money. They are the 5th seed going up against the number 1 seed. I mean, all betting odds favored the Celtics. So most of the pressure is on the Celtics. So it's great for the Mavs because, look, it's like if they win, dope. They won. They exceeded expectations. If they lose, everyone's just going to say, well, Boston was a better team anyway. So I think this is just a magnificent position for the Dallas Mavericks to be in. But as far as like, you know, X factors or what they really got to do, I think for the Mavs to win this game, Luka and Kyrie, they have to continue to be dominant. I mean, they've been dominant all playoff long so far. Combined, Luka and Kyrie have averaged the most points and assists per game for a duo. Right now, they're averaging 52 points per game and 14 assists per game combined as a duo, not individually. That would be insane. That's like some Wilt numbers, but yeah, combined 52 points per game and 14 assists per game. And this crazy stat that I seen on this, check this out, y'all. Luka and Kyrie have scored or assisted on 74% of the Mavericks' points during this playoff run so far. That is the highest percentage scored and assisted on in the last 25 seasons. The second highest percentage is Dwayne Wade and LeBron James in 2012 with 71%. Do y'all understand how insane that is? That means that 74% of the Mavericks' buckets all throughout the playoffs so far have basically come through and have been responsible because of Luka and Kyrie. So if they want to continue to be as dominant as they've been all playoffs long so far, they have to continue to do that. The offense has to continue to go through Luka and Kyrie. But, you know, back to my point earlier, what I was making of as far as I know, Luka and Kyrie have to continue to be dominant for them to win. The games, you know, if you look in the past and look at the games that the Mavs have lost, right? So Game 5 against the Timberwolves, which is the only game that they lost. Kyrie, he was not offensively dominant. Same for in that Clippers series when it was Clippers versus Mavs. The 2 games that the Mavericks lost, Kyrie just kind of wasn't as dominant and wasn't as aggressive as he has been in every other game, and in the games that he has been dominant offensively, in the games that he has been attacking offensively, they've won. So, I mean, for the Mavericks to be at their best, Kyrie, he has to keep the defense on their heels by constantly just trying to get to the hoop. When he gets off those pick and rolls, when he comes off that screen, he cannot be looking to pass. He has to be looking to score just to keep the defense honest, because when he does that, now the defense has to play him in a different way. And then when they do that, now the passes open up a lot more for Kyrie and Luka. But I honestly wouldn't call Kyrie and Luka dominating offensively an X factor, because I think that's clear, right? Like that's a must-have. Like if you don't have that, then even if everybody else just plays out of their mind, I still don't think you're gonna win. But to give you guys an X factor, to tell you who I think an X factor is, besides the clear fact that Luka and Kyrie are gonna have to step up, the X factor I would say is going to have to be P.J. Washington's three-point shooting and Daniel Gafford's physicality. I mean, honestly, y'all, these two guys have changed absolutely everything for the Mavericks. I mean, ever since getting them, they are 33-14. And before getting P.J. Washington and Daniel Gafford on this team, they are 29-33. Y'all hear that? Did you guys hear that record? Ever since getting these guys, they are 33-14. They have won 33 games, lost 14. And before getting them, they had won 29 games and lost 33. And the crazy thing is, y'all, I called it at the trade deadline. I said the Mavericks are the biggest winners from this trade deadline. They got two players that fit what they're trying to do. It fits the mold of the team. And boy, oh boy, was I right. I have a video actually where I talked about how great of an addition PJ and Daniel Gafford will be. And I dropped that on my channel couple of months ago. Make sure you go check that out. Go give your boy some props for getting it right, man. I'm feeling like Tim Legler out here, man. But to touch on those X factors, right? Let's first touch on PJ Washington and his 3-point shooting. And it's going to be important in this series for a couple of reasons. I think it's going to open up the floor more for Luka and Kyrie. Every time Luka and Kyrie come off those pick and rolls, they're already going to have the favorable matchup. They already have the lob threat as an option, because when the big sets that pick, especially on the Mavs, they're always rolling to the hoop, waiting for that Luka or Kyrie lob to the hoop. But if they can also add in the option of having P.J. Washington, having Derrick Jones Jr., having these shooters in the corner just ready to catch and shoot, man, that literally gives the Mavs unlimited options out of these pick and rolls. I mean, it's simple basketball, y'all. It's simple basketball. Luka and Kyrie come off the pick. They coming downhill. The defense absolutely has to crash. They have to crash. They have to double. They have to help. And the second that they help, it's a Luka and Kyrie, boom, kick to P.J. Washington in that corner. And, I mean, P.J. Washington literally scored 29 points in that Thunder series, doing literally just this. He would stand in the corner, wait for the defense to crash on Luka and Kyrie, and he's either catching that catch and shoot in the corner, or he's catching that catch and shoot, getting the defenders on up fake, getting to the hoop, and one, dunk, layup, whatever it may be. It's just offense that just is constantly going around and around and around. And it kind of reminds you of like a pool filter, right? Like, I know it might sound crazy, but it's like, the water comes into the pool filter, it gets filtered, and then it gets right back to the pool. And that's kind of what the Mavericks offense is going to look like if they have the option of P.J. Washington, they have the option of Luka and Kyrie getting downhill, and they have the option of the lob threat, which is usually Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. Another reason why the three-point shooting P.J. Washington is going to be so important in the series is because, I mean, the Celtics shoot literally the most three-pointers. They live and die by that three-pointer. So if the Celtics are hitting, the best way to combat that, the best way to rebuttal that is to hit three-pointers yourself. And that's what P.J. can bring for this Mavericks team. That's why I think he's one of the X factors. And the other X factor that I mentioned is Daniel Gafford, man. Daniel Gafford and his physicality. It's going to be so important because, KP, Kristaps Porzingis, he doesn't really want to be a bone-bruising big. He's more of a three-point shooting big. He likes to pick and pop more. He has the roll option because the man is 7'2", so sometimes, he was rolling to the hoop. You just throw it up there. He's 7'2". He's bigger than everybody. He's going to get the dunk, but he really likes to pick and fade or pick and pop to the three-point line. And if Daniel Gafford can just be extremely physical with him, that can kind of put KP in an uncomfortable situation where, he's just kind of getting more tired out because of that. And that's the same thing with Derek Lively. Derek Lively is going to have to do the same thing. Derek Lively, I believe he's also like 7'1" or 7'2", so I don't know if he can be as physical as Gafford can be with KP, but I think any chance that Lively has of being physical with Kristaps Porzingis, he's got to do it, man. And honestly, thinking about Derek Lively, it kind of got me thinking, like, what was like the last time that you guys seen a rookie? Because Derek Lively's a rookie. Remember this. What was the last time you guys seen a rookie have this much of an impact in every single game, right? Like, a rookie. I mean, I know THT, he came to the Lakers and won a championship as a rookie. I believe, Christian Braun won a championship as a rookie. But all those guys didn't really have that much of an impact in every single game. Derek Lively legitimately has such a huge impact on the offensive end and on the defensive end. And it really got me thinking, man, like, what was the last time we seen a rookie have this much of an impact in every single game, in every single series? I really can't think of it. I mean, if you guys could think of it, please let me know in the comment section down below. But as far as, starting lineups for the Dallas Mavericks, I think this is going to vary based on if Boston decides to go big or small. And that's the one advantage that Boston has, which I'll get to next, is Boston can kind of run whatever lineup they want. But I think that if you're just asking me, hey, John, what's the best lineup that the Mavericks should run? I think that the Mavericks should definitely start Luka at the 1, Kyrie at the 2, or, they're interchangeable, whatever you want to do. Derrick Jones Jr. at the 3, Gafford at the 4, and Lively at the 5. And the reason why I think they should do that is because if you have PJ Washington coming off the bench, he can be on the bench and analyze whatever that the starting 5 is in need of, and it's probably going to be a scoring punch, because out of those guys, the real scoring consistent players on that team out of that lineup would be Luka, Kyrie, and maybe Derrick Jones Jr. if he's hitting offensively. So if you can have PJ Washington come off the bench and act like a J.R. Smith, a microwave. I'm not saying he's scoring the same way as J.R. Smith. It was just getting the ball and attacking, but he can just give a different variance to the Mavericks if he's coming off the bench. But like I said, y'all, this starting lineup is definitely going to vary, because if Boston decides to go small, then you have to put PJ Washington in there. Do you replace him in for Lively? Do you replace him in for Gafford? That all depends on if the Celtics end up running KP at the 5 or if they're running Al Horford at the 5. So that's definitely going to vary. And then as far as the game plan for the Dallas Mavericks, I think that every single time down court, they need to run a very high pick and roll. And when I say very high, I mean like barely past half court. They need to start running that pick and roll, so in that way, Luka and Kyrie can have as much space as possible to operate. And I mean, I've said this earlier, y'all, the options are just unlimited. If you set a high pick and roll at barely past half court on Luka or on Kyrie, let's say you have Derek Lively coming and set that pick and roll, right? Now you have Luka and Kyrie coming downhill with a whole bunch of space, most likely with the favorable switch, with the favorable matchup, because Derek Lively's defender would have most likely switched onto Luka. So they got a favorable matchup there, so they can just simply take the ball out, ISO, and get into whatever action they want. They have the shooters in the corner. Let's say Luka's coming downhill off that high pick and roll. He has shooters in the corner. He has the PJ Washingtons. He has the Derrick Jones Jr. He has the Dante Exums. He has the Josh Greens. He has all these guys. And remember, you also have that big, in this instance, you have the Derek Lively rolling to the hoop for that lob. And out of all those options, like a bucket has to come from that. Whether it's a bucket, them getting to the free throw line, whether it's a 3, whether it's a Luka ISO, whether it's them taking advantage of the mismatch, whatever it is, y'all see what I'm getting at, man. The options are just absolutely endless for the Dallas Mavericks. So that's what I got, y'all, for the Dallas Mavericks. Now let's get to the Boston Celtics. Now, before I even get into anything for the Celtics, I got to say this. This Boston Celtics team is so damn elite, man. I know a lot of people like to discredit this year's team because they're like, oh, they're same as last year. They're just going to choke. They're going to choke. But this team is different. This team is none like any other Celtics team that we have ever seen, y'all. I mean, their regular season, they had one of the best net ratings in NBA history, y'all. They had the second best franchise start in Celtics history. And this year, the players are a little bit different. So let's get into that. Let's talk about what makes them different this year than in past years. I mean, first of all, they have Jrue Holiday, which is one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and you've paired him up with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, two of the best offensive perimeter players in the league. This year, you know who else they have that they didn't have in past years? They have Kristaps Porzingis, a big. I know a lot of people are going to be like, but what about Rob Will? Rob Will was a big. Yes, he was. But guess what? Rob Will was a big that had liabilities on the offensive end. KP does not have those. He is a big that provides rim protection. He is not a liability on the offensive end. He can knock down that three-pointer. He can pick and roll. He can pick and pop. So he gives them so many other facets to their offense that they did not have in past seasons. I mean, this season, KP shot 40% from the three-point line. We're talking about a 7'2" big shooting 40% from the three-point line. You know what else this year's team has that they didn't have in past years? Joe Mazzulla has had a full year to fully mature and is a better coach. He's just a better coach than he's been in past years. You can see in simple X's and O's. You can see in ATOs. Like, he just is making better decisions as a coach, and you can see it. So I just wanted to say all that to debunk any myth or any like false statements that people make out there to saying, oh, the Celtics are the same as they are in past years. Absolutely not. So now that that's out the way, let's get into a little bit of the the defensive end for the Celtics, because even though they're an extremely elite offensive team and they're an extremely elite team on the offensive end, that was a tongue twister right there. If they want to win this series, it will be won on the defensive end. Now, good thing for the Celtics is that they can run a starting lineup of Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis, and then they can have the ability to switch 1 through 5. And I mean, this is going to help them a lot going up against the Mavs, because they won't get caught on as many rolls when like the Mavericks set the pick and roll, right? And what I mean by this is, like, when a team comes and sets a pick and roll, 99% of the time, what they want to do is they want the defense to just switch whoever the primary defender is to go on to the big, and whoever the defender that was on the big to go on to the ball handler. And they 99% of the time they do switch, because most teams, they don't have the ability that the Celtics do of switching 1 through 5, because they don't want to get that mismatch. For example, the Timberwolves, right, with Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is an amazing rim protection big. He's got Defensive Player of the Year like 4 times now. I believe he's tied for all-time most Defensive Player of the Years. But you don't want him on the island. You don't want him on the perimeter. Why? Because his puppies don't move that fast, bro. His puppies just don't move that fast. His feet don't move fast. You need to have fast feet on the perimeter. So what do? They want to stay away from those switches. They allow Rudy to just drop coverage. And then what does Kyrie and Luka and those dominant offensive players do? They kill you, because your drop coverage, they're gonna hit threes. They're gonna hit mid rangers. But the Celtics, they do not have to run that drop coverage, because they can switch and they won't get caught on as many of those screens. So that won't be a problem for the Celtics. So in my opinion, that absolutely should be the starting lineup that the Celtics run, which is Jrue, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis. While for the Mavs, I do believe that their starting lineup is going to vary, and it's going to depend on what the Celtics are going to do. But I think the Celtics, they should not stray away from that lineup of Jrue, White, Brown, Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis for the switching purposes, especially up against the Dallas Mavericks, because we know that almost every single play down court, the Dallas Mavericks are running a pick and roll with Luka in it, with Kyrie in it. And I think that a real focal point for the Celtics on the defensive end is going to be Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday is going to have to be on Luka. And I know that a lot of people might, give me some heat for this and be like, yo, why would Jrue Holiday not be on Kyrie Irving? He's one of the greatest ball handlers of all time. Yes, I agree. But Jrue Holiday's screen navigation is absolutely elite, man. I mean, this guy's screen navigation is probably one of the best I have seen in the league in a long time, to be honest with you. And we know that Luka Doncic runs off screens all game long. And I can also trust Derek White to use his length to bother Kyrie Irving. I mean, Kyrie is 6'2". The smallest player on the Celtics lineup is 6'4", and that's Jrue Holiday. I believe Derek White is about 6'5". So I really think that Derek White can use his length to bother Kyrie. And even if Kyrie does blow by Derek White, which I think is going to happen a couple times, the Celtics can use their length that they have at the rim to bother him, making him get a really, really, really tough shot off. Think of Rudy Gobert. Think of Chet Holmgren. Think of all those guys. They made it tough for Kyrie at the rim because they had so much length. And then offensively, y'all, I think the Celtics, they need to continue to do what they've been doing all season long. Number one offense all season long, and even into the playoffs, they still have the number one offense, and this is without Kristaps Porzingis, so adding him will only do more damage and just give the Celtics more options, right? I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they have been dominant all playoff long so far. They've combined for 50 points per game, 16 rebounds, 8 assists, and again, this is all without Kristaps Porzingis because he hasn't played a single game yet in the playoffs. Imagine how much more room and how much more space you're going to have and how much more the defense has to account for other players if Kristaps is out there. The floor opens up for players like Jaylen Brown and players like Jason Tatum. So offensively, they got to continue to be in attack mode. Jaylen Brown has to continue to be this beast on the offensive end. He's shooting 54% from the field all playoffs so far. So he's got to continue attacking, getting to the hoop, trying to get to the line. One thing that I will say is that Jason Tatum, he has struggled from the three-point line. He's shooting 29% from the three-point line in his playoffs so far. But I think his biggest thing is he just needs to recognize when he's hitting and when he's not hitting. Because it's not like he's like Rudy Gobert and just straight up can't shoot a three-pointer. Jason Tatum's got that thing on him. Jason Tatum can definitely shoot. But the thing is, when he is not hitting, sometimes he gets tunnel vision and continues to shoot. He needs to remember, Jason Tatum, you are a 6'8", 6'9", 4'3", however you want to look at it. He's positionless. You need to use your length, use your height, and get to the hoop. Like how Jaylen Brown is doing. Jaylen Brown shooting 54% from the field this playoff so far. Jason Tatum cannot settle for three-pointers just because that's his game. He needs to take advantage of his height and get to the hoop, man. Another thing on the offensive end that I think is super, super important for the Celtics that they must take advantage of is Luka and Kyrie on the defensive end, man. I mean, they have to work those two guys, but especially Kyrie. I mean, both players, both Luka and Kyrie, are not great on the defensive end. It's not a mystery to anyone, but Luka Doncic is 6'7", y'all. There's not many players in this league that's going to be able to wear out and wear down a 6'7" guy. But Kyrie, he's 6'2". The smallest player, like I said, on the Celtics is 6'4". So they need to put Kyrie in every single action, every single time down court on the defensive end to get him tired. Get some off-ball switches. Get him in the post him up. Run them through 3-4 extra screens that you would. They don't necessarily have to be on-ball screens, maybe some off-ball screens, just to really tire out Kyrie, just to hope that, he doesn't do what he does in clutch moments. And then as far as X factors, because I know I gave some X factors for the Mavericks, I think the X factor for the Celtics is going to be Kristaps Porzingis. I mean, when he plays, he takes this team to a whole nother level on both ends. On offensive end, he gives them the option of the roll to the hoop, the pop to the three-point line, the fade to the midi. We already know the amazing shooters that they have around Kristaps and around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jrue Holiday, Sam Hauser. So they need to definitely make sure that Kristaps Porzingis is healthy. Kristaps Porzingis healthy is the biggest X factor in this series. So my official prediction, man, if you made it this far in this video, just know you're a real one. And my official prediction for this series is got to be Celtics in 6, man. And here's why I have Celtics in 6, y'all. I'm going to give y'all some quick reasons. As long as Kristaps Porzingis is healthy, it will be Celtics in 6 because they have the offensive firepower with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Kristaps Porzingis, and their team is full of three-point shooters. But they also have the defensive end on lock. I talked about this earlier. They can switch 1 through 5 with that starting lineup. And even if you want to bring Al Horford just to have a little bit more length, you can bring in Al Horford. Now, he can't switch as much as Kristaps and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can, but Al Horford can still be a serviceable big, especially in giving you just some more extra length out there. Maybe you want to go Al Horford and Kristaps to be extra, extra big. So like I said, man, on the defensive end, the Celtics can comfortably switch 1-5. They're one of the few teams in the league that can really, really do that. And I think that's really going to be tough for the Dallas Mavericks in this series, which is another reason why I have Celtics in 6. And I mean, come on, y'all. I mean, when Kristaps Porzingis is back, this team has the ability to switch 1-5. They have the best defensive backcourt. They have 2 1-8 type guys in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. They can legitimately do it all. And you know what else the Celtics have, y'all? They have scar tissue. I'm so tired of telling you guys this, man. I have been saying this all season long. The Celtics have freaking scar tissue. Scar tissue is a real thing in the NBA, y'all. You learn from your mistakes just like you do in real life. They do in the NBA too. And scar tissue is real. And the Celtics have the most scar tissue I've seen in a long time. Look, y'all, the Celtics went to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2017, 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2023. They've learned so much in these failures, y'all. I think it was Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, one of these guys. They said, I failed. They said, I didn't fail at making the light bulb 4,000 times. I just learned 4,000 ways that wouldn't work. And that's exactly what the Celtics did, man. They learned 4, 5, 6, 7 different ways that just would not work as to how they can win a championship. They've continued to make adjustments, whether it's been on court wise, whether it's been Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown improving, whether it's been roster construction. And guess what? Now it's time for them to finally reach their goal. And then on top of that, y'all, experience is a real thing, y'all. Experience is a real thing. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have played more playoff games together than Luka and Kyrie have played games together. Let me run that back for y'all. Experience is a real thing. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have played more playoff games together than Kyrie and Luka have played regular games. Come on, y'all. Experience matters. Experience is a real thing. My thing I'll end this spiel with is my only fear for the Celtics is that they have not yet been challenged. Every single round that they have played in, they have got some type of easy challenge, no challenge or easy round. The Heat, they were the far superior team, and no Jimmy Butler. The Cavs, they were the far superior team. No Jared Allen, no Karis LeVert for the last game. No Donovan Mitchell for the last game. Darius Garland was coming off injury. For the Pacers, no Tyrese Halliburton for the last 2 games. So y'all see, their road to the finals have been relatively easy. So they have not yet been challenged. So I'm definitely intrigued to see when they get a real challenge, when their back actually goes up against the wall. How will they respond? That's a real thing. So that's my only fear for that, man. But if you made it throughout this whole video, man, just know that you a real one. I appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed this NBA Finals, man. I know I'm super excited for it. I'm just happy to see the best offensive backcourt versus the best defensive backcourt. This is going to be a matchup, man. I'm super excited to see just as a basketball junkie. As always, y'all, I appreciate you guys. Leave in a comment down below what your prediction is. Do you have the Celtics? Do you have the Mavs? And in how many games? For now, I'm out of here, y'all. Deuces.